Hello everyone, welcome to Single Value. So today we're going to talk about Churchill Capital Corporation 4 and its rumoured speculative Lucid Motors merger. We have talked about this before, but I thought I'd do an update video, especially since this price is up quite a bit by over 25%. So there's a lot of questions about what's up, why is the stock up so much today? Well, there's an event called Future Investment Initiative, and that's run by Public Investment Fund, and a public investment fund is run by Saudi Arabia's government, and they basically own over half of Lucid Motors. So essentially, if you own Lucid Motors and you have your very own event in Saudi Arabia, what are you going to do? Well, you're basically going to likely announce something at your own event, because you want to make it special, you want to make it major. So this event starts on the 26th of January and it goes to the 28th of January. So there's a lot of speculation that, hey, potentially if there's a merger between Churchill Capital Corp 4, then likely it's going to be announced on these dates, so to just make it really special. And also, Churchill Capital Corp also recently made a listing in Germany. I think the symbols are CH20. So if you want to follow like the German listing, then you can also go into CH20. And then you can kind of like, when the US market closes, you can actually continue to watch it in the German market. And when the German market closes, you can continue to watch it in the US market. So you won't be bored, perhaps. But why would they list in a German market? Well, Germany is also a big producer of cars, and a big hint that potentially Lucid Motors may want to build a factory in Germany, just like Tesla is building a factory in Germany, because there's all the expertise and the logistics is all in Germany, because there's so many car companies in Germany that basically, well, everything's just right there and there. So think about, like if you were to do a tech company, you would go to Silicon Valley. Germany would kind of act as a very similar sort of thing. If you were thinking about building a factory in Europe, that Germany would make a really good decision. And yeah, like listing in Germany is kind of a big hint, because why else would you list in Germany? Especially if you're a SPAC. Like if you're a SPAC, there's not really any purpose to really do this unless the thing that you're looking to merge with potentially needs it and finds it as something that would be an ideal, fit. So yeah, like we look at it and we go, okay, well, potentially all the dots and lines all connect towards Churchill Capital Corp merging with Lucid Motors. But again, still rumor, anything could happen. It could fall, we know that discussions are in place, because they've not been denied, and there's a lot of different sources that say that discussions are actually happening, and we don't know if things will be concluded. Deals can always fall apart, of course, and that's the risk you take if you buy something like this. But there's also large rewards if things succeed, so it's a whole calculated risk situation. And yeah, like a bit more about Lucid. They just said a CEO recently did an interview, and he's like, Lucid Motors is going to have a methodical manufacturing plan. And in a way, he kind of takes this shot at Elon, but I don't think it's meant in that kind of like way anyway. So you remember back when Elon Musk was saying, oh well, when they're entering production for the Model 3, they'll be going through production hell. And Lucid Motors CEO Peter Rawlinson, who used to work at Tesla, he was like, production hell means you didn't plan very well, which kind of feels like a shot at Elon and Tesla, but I think it's also very true, but I think that's how Elon approaches things. He's not a guy that just goes, I'm going to think about everything to the detail. I'm going to think about it, but I'm going to start doing it immediately as well. And hence why Elon can do amazing things, because he's not thinking about it as much, whereas a lot of people overthink things, take too long, which is kind of like a thing on Lucid Motors. They're probably a company that's also probably thought too much about what they do, and they've actually been slower in a sense. So in a way, as much as Tesla, went through production hell because they didn't think through everything, it also brought them forward and much more ahead of every other company. Because you look at their statistics, like they've done 500,000 cars when basically no other EV company is really that close to them. So you can look at how quick they've managed to do things. So in a way, as much as they didn't plan very well, if Peter Rawlinson is right that hey, Tesla didn't plan very well, and mind you, he has inside knowledge because he used to work there, and that's maybe what he was critical about the company. Maybe he thought, well, Tesla doesn't plan things too well. If I did it myself, I will plan it very well. And hence why, he's the CEO of Lucid Motors, and he's taking the approach that he thinks would, in a sense, be better for Lucid Motors. So as it's put here, Rawlinson describes Lucid's manufacturing strategy like a chess game with a lot of moving pieces and one move dependent on the next. And it kind of shows because they brought a 500-acre plot and they're just kind of slowly expanding the manufacturing as they go. So one day they hope to get to 400,000 vehicles, and they'll expand their capacity as they go. They expect to produce about 7,000 vehicles this year. So that kind of gives us a lot of insight, like regardless of if this merger happens or not. I kind of relish the whole idea of like looking into Lucid Motors, and if it did come public, it looks like it's going to become public either way. So eventually you'll be able to buy this company anyway, so why not educate yourself on Lucid Motors and go, what's the valuation of Lucid Motors, what makes sense, and what's the details on a company, and that's going to give you a lot more, that's going to, in a way, it gives you a leg up in the future, because when this company does come public, then you already know what to expect. And they're basically doing 70,000 vehicles this year, at which the price tags for the Dream Edition is looking about 160,000, and then they've got cheaper editions. So yeah, like if we do some really quick math and go, if you sell 7,000 cars at 160,000, if you give my money. Alright, so let's calculate this. 7,000, and yeah, we'll see like 160. So they're probably looking at about $1 billion in about a revenue. It's slightly around there, because mind you, they'll be producing the cheaper version as well. So that's just a rough calculation that they'll get about $1 billion this year in revenue. Eventually they hope to reach 34,000. Their thinking is next year they should be able to get to maybe 20,000 vehicles. So in a way, the scaling up isn't as quick as they would want it to be, but mind you, they're producing very luxurious vehicles that sell at much higher pricing. So in a way, them producing 7,000 vehicles is probably equivalent to another company producing like 20,000 vehicles. I would say one of their vehicles equals like 2 or even 3 of vehicles of other companies. So hence why we don't look at this at 7,000 alone, because we go, the price tag is so large that essentially them making one vehicle equals many more of what another company would do at a cheaper rate. So, and as it's put, we don't want to spend $1 billion on a factory for 400,000 units and have all the capital tied up. So hence why they've kind of just taken the approach slowly as they go. And as it's put, their next model is called as an SUV called Project Gravity, and it's coming in 2023. and that's with an expectation of production of 85 to 90,000 units. So I think that kind of gives us an idea of what they could be at by 2023. That this year they're at 7,000. Next year maybe 20,000, potentially 30,000, and then they could easily scale that up much more on the third year, where they reach 85 to 90,000, which will be quite interesting watching if they actually get to those numbers, and it'll be much more quicker than any car company currently on the market, in terms of how fast they're scaling on a percentage wise anyway. Which, as I put, by then phase 2 of the factory will be complete, and so they reckon all 4 phases will be completed by the end of the decade. Some articles were mentioning about 2028, so before we would probably see them get to 400,000 vehicles potentially in the next 8 years. Though they have mentioned about, as it's put, Lucid Motors is to build a factory in Saudi Arabia, given this whole connection of the future of the public investment fund. It would make sense because there's a city called King Abdullah Economic City, and that's actually the city name. This is a city that's basically built for the future. So why not include a factory for one of the most futuristic companies to come onto the market, in a sense of EVs, So yeah, like, we're looking at this and going, alright, so they're going to have this factory being built here in King Abdullah's Economic City, and it will be co-financed so by the Public Investment Trust, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. So potentially they will have much more capacity than the US factory alone, but the US factory can do about 400,000 vehicles, and I think it's going to bode very well for this company, that hey, you've got a facility, you've got a US production that eventually goes to 400,000. You've got a factory that will be coming into Saudi Arabia. There's no date that's confirmed, but we can imagine the factory could well be a very similar size, which kind of says in the next 10 years, this company could do as much as Tesla. And also this company does have its own battery pack as well. So essentially it's trying to replicate what Tesla has also done currently. So the valuations kind of move in towards a very similar kind of direction. That firstly, this company has a massive brand and a following right now, and it continues to grow, like very similar to Tesla, which kind of gives it extra points. And also its factories, it's got a factory built today. It's ready to go into production in the next few months and have the offerings around May. And then they're potentially building a factory in Saudi Arabia. So eventually, basically, this all connects up, and it really builds up a company that could be worth, on kind of a very forward-looking situation of about $40 to $50 billion, given the amount of demand and hype for these shares. So if this kind of merger is confirmed, you could well see the share price move potentially to about $40 around there, which would kind of make sense because of what the company's proven. The technology, they have some of the best technology. They managed to find about a 15% efficiency on any other EV in the market, which includes Tesla. So you really got to give it to Lucid Motors that they're on the forefront of the technology. They're scaling really quickly in terms of building their factory and eventually building their vehicles. And they've got a second motor vehicle on the way in 2023, which is only 2 years away. So in the scheme of things, it's not that going to be that long. So hence why there's a lot of excitement around what's happening here. And yeah, we'll have to watch next week with a lot of anticipation. And yeah, like, just a word of warning that, hey, if you're buying into this, it is still very, very much a rumor, and it is very, very much calculated risk that, hey, if it happens, we're all good. If not, you've seen this share price drop quite a lot. So be wary of that. Until then, if you've got any questions or comments, just post below. Until then, good luck investing, everyone.